What's going on, everybody? My name is Mark. This is the BigCritique Podcast. Today we have with us Artem Mashkov.
How's everybody doing? Well, I'm guessing a little bit worse than usual, but hang in there.
Yeah, these are tough times for everybody. I had a few revelations. I was just in the supermarket with my fiance. We're doing some shopping, and I had a few revelations about the times that we're living in, but I'll circle back to that. Artem, you're a really busy guy, and you would probably be the best person to talk to about this. You're an entrepreneur. You're a businessman. You own more than one business. How are you dealing with the coronavirus, with this pandemic? Everybody's sick. Businesses are shutting down left and right. Are you still operational? Are all of your businesses still operational? What are you doing? What's going on?
Well, I mean, it helps that I'm fairly diverse in my business ventures, and before this entire thing, a lot of people were asking me, why do you have your hands in so many different buckets? And this is exactly why, because things like this happen. It's a black swan event. So I would say that, the investments I have in hospitality right now are doing the worst. We're not operational. It's very, very difficult. It's a question of economics, and it's a question of health. So those right now are fully shut down.
Right.
I have some real estate investments. That's also pretty bad, and I know there's a whole entire debate: is do you pay rent, do you not pay rent? And I'm on both sides of it, right? So I'm a tenant, and then I'm an owner, and I understand if I'm not making rent right now, right? Because like people don't have money, so that's been on pause. Real estate has been on pause too in terms of cash flow.
Yeah.
And then I have retail, and we are essential. So Verizon Wireless stores, and we're considered essential because we're part of telecom and tech support. So right now, communication is super important. We're able to do this right now thanks to Verizon, right? Wi-Fi, for example, you have it at home, but let's say your internet goes down, and now do you want to let in a stranger to come fix it? So not everybody wants to do that. So now, instead of letting people in, they're relying on their phones and on hotspots, which is basically wireless modems. So we're considered essential, and for a lot of people, not everyone has internet at home. Not everyone has broadband access, and especially now, they might not even have the right plans when there's everybody home, and you're going over how much the network can handle. So so we're considered essential. We're operating right now with full precautions. We're trying to not staff more than one person in a store at a time, so that way minimize exposure. We're doing curbside pickups. We're wiping everything down. We're fighting tooth and nail for every single PPE, piece of equipment we could find. So so we're operational right now, and we're serving the community, and mostly just helping people stay connected to the world. But even there, the business has been down in some aspects. I would say in terms of just like nobody's just buying a phone for fun right now.
Yeah.
But if people are coming in or coming by, it's because they really need us. We're selling a lot of accessories, a lot of batteries, because Amazon is not shipping anything. So our main competitor is Amazon, and it's impossible. Those of you that are paying for Prime, you're not getting anything in 2 days.
No,
and for something
definitely not.
And it goes back to like, why is the retail business so crucial still? Because in times like this, we're still open. So that means when times are good, you want to support your local business so that it is open in time when times are not so good. Retail and real estate and hospitality has been very, very difficult. And then I have another business called Swag Up, where we're a tech company where
Stand
we
up
do
and show
enterprise.
off the swag. I know you got the shirt on. I love the logo, man. I think I told you that before. True, I love your logo for Swag Up. It was definitely professionally done, because there was definitely some thought that was put into it, from the typography of and the symbol used for your logo. It's very clear that was well thought out.
Yeah. I mean, it had a couple of iterations already, but we have our own graphic design team. Our founder is very creative, and then also we had an outside agency come and help out and build out the entire brand package. I mean, for us, the look of things is very important. So Swag Up in itself has been fairly okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. You're a brand that works that's sort of built on other businesses spending money and buying products from you guys to distribute around. And because there's a lot of companies right now that just are at a complete halt and are furloughed and just laid off workers, how have you seen that trickle down effect?
So there are a lot of companies that are like that, but not every company, right?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Zoom is hiring, right? Facebook just announced that they're hiring 10,000 engineers. So I would say that what happened to us, and the other thing is, we are a promotional product distributor, but in reality, we're a tech company which allows you to distribute these promotional products to multiple locations, track where they are, combine it, see what kind of brand guidance you have and whether it's distributed or not, so everything is compliant and approved by your marketing team. And in reality, this is a huge industry. It's a $25 billion industry, and none of our competitors do this, right? So everyone sells swag, but not everybody shows you, okay, you could ship 10 of these packs to 10 different employees in 10 different places, which is what we're able to do. And in an environment where everybody's working from home, that's super key. So our competitors don't know how to do that. We just did it because that's kind of like our premise is for, we're built for remote work, we're built for work from home, we're built for distributed companies. And everybody's distributed now, whether they like it or not. So the same way that Slack got a bunch of clients, and the same way Zoom got a bunch of clients, and the same way Teladoc got a bunch of clients, is what happened with us. So I would say our core, which is hiring, that kind of went away, and then it got replaced by a bunch of other things. So surprise and delight, right? Your employees are at home, they're all upset, they're depressed. You need a sense of unity. Your company has never done a remote workplace. So they're sending their employees plans, they're sending their employees snacks, they're sending their employees an extra hat because you haven't been able to get a haircut in a month, right?
I feel that. The beard's getting...
So we're positioned perfectly. Yeah, I just shaved today. And then on top of that, our clients, a lot of them are agnostic to this stuff. Like I said, companies like Facebook, like Zoom, like Walmart, Amazon, these are some of our clients. They're okay. They have cash. And all they want to do is make sure their employees are producing just as much as they're producing now. Right. And on top of that, we're partnering with companies. For example, there's Hopin, which is basically a virtual event company. So all of these companies that are moving their events virtually,
Hopin? H-O-P-I-N?
Yeah, are working with a company like Hopin. So that's what's happening. And then at the same time, you're trying to engage your clients and still get sales going, because right now cash flow is king. And how are you doing that? What if 50% of your marketing budget was events? Now you're shifting. You might not shift the whole 50, but you might shift 20, 25 of it to direct mail marketing, which, once again, we're perfectly positioned for because we could ship everywhere, not just United States, internationally. We're getting catering budgets shifted over to us. So I would say, yes, overall companies are hurting, but we're still functional, we're still operational, and those companies that are going stronger and taking advantage kind of this because they're built for this, they're using us. Money doesn't disappear. It just exchanges hands, right?
Yeah.
Money's moving from one place to another place. So we're just getting budgets shifted towards us. And obviously our hospitality clients, those are not ordering, but so much of these remote workforce clients are. We're actually partnered with our client, we have Everywell, which are doing home testing kits. Nuantrix is another one. They're also trying to do home. So we have a lot of clients that are well positioned for what's going on right now. So they basically their orders and their interest is replacing the other clients that are not well positioned for this situation.
Gotcha. So let's dig back for a second to another one of your businesses. I know you own I'm pretty sure you own or you have ownership in a restaurant in Manhattan.
So I'm a silent partner in two sports bars.
Okay.
So I can't talk too much about it because besides the fact that we're not open right now, I don't have the day-to-day on there. So I'm sure that it's not going to be good news at the end of it. I could talk a little bit about a vegan creperie where I am more involved.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, at the same, like I said, we're closed. Everything is, all the hospitality businesses are closed right now.
I got you. Well, it was more going to be a question of just like, are you guys doing takeout? But I guess you just like, maybe they weren't really an eatery as much as they were just like a place to drink.
Yeah, I mean, there is, but you got to remember, takeout is very, very expensive. Companies like Grubhub, Uber Eats, and the rest, they're charging up to 40%, 40, 50%. So you physically cannot survive on takeout, right? Because if people, you don't have enough margins there.
Got it. Okay.
So it doesn't really pay, right?
And between like paying your employees to stay there and cook and paying utilities and stuff like that, there's just not enough to really have people going in every day. Understood. Okay, I was curious. I wasn't sure how that worked. But yeah, man, let's. Do you want to talk about the vegan bakery?
I mean, it's a vegan creperie, but
vegan creperie.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, but I mean, we could talk about it. We've just done a GoFundMe to raise a little bit of money for our employees that are furloughed right now. We're looking into New York City. They have a loan program. They're trying to help businesses, and the PPP, which is the payroll protection program, also.
Right.
But all of these things are a mess. These systems are not designed to distribute cash like this.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anybody getting any money from any of these programs so far.
Let me ask you this. So I had this. This is the revelation I think I mentioned before. I was shopping in the supermarket with my fiance, and I don't know. I saw some news article, something that someone said Trump said about making America great again, and it occurred to me. I was just like, what if, by a crazy positive turn of events, the coronavirus is the exact thing that actually does make America great again, because in turn, we start manufacturing more here because we don't really have a choice. Like, I know for a fact, because I was reading before, that in Texas, there's a bunch of businesses that are starting to manufacture PPE products because we just don't have enough right now in the States. And I know that the government and military is aiding them. So in my head, I'm just like, I wonder if this actually kind of helps us start to manufacture more on U.S. territory. What do you think? Is that absurd?
It's not absurd, but let's put it this way. Can you take a hockey player and turn him into a basketball player? Even if they're an excellent athlete. Can you?
I mean, I want to say probably not, / anything is possible, but I'm leaning more towards no.
So that's the thing. We're not set up as a country that will be able to do its own manufacturing. And what's going to happen is by the time we figure it out, it's going to be too late. There's going to be obviously too many people that have died, but also it's just we're not there. Like we're not good at it.
Why do you think that is? Is that because other countries like China have such lower costs to pay their workers, or maybe something else, or?
But even that, let's say you throw the economics of it out the window. Like I said, it's going to take you time to turn an excellent hockey athlete into a basketball, even if that's possible. It's just not something we've been doing, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. These ventilators right now, right?
Yeah, and high in demand.
Let me preface this that I'm no expert in any of this. I don't.
Of course. Yeah, no, I get it.
This is just literally what I've been looking at and studying and talking. So I've talked to mechanical engineers, and I've talked to people working in hospital supply chain management, and these ventilators are absolutely necessary and needed. And what's happened is they're like, oh, GM is going to make them, and Ford is going to make them, and Tesla is going to make them, and then Dyson is making them in the UK. But what ends up happening is that it's not the same thing. Tesla builds cars. Ford builds cars. It's a completely different thing to build a ventilator, because your car has warranty, right? Your car has warranty. If something doesn't work in your car, you go, fuck, let me go to the shop, I'll get a new car. If your ventilator doesn't work, you're not getting a new human. You know what I?
Now your reference of like, can you turn a hockey player into a baseball player or a basketball player makes more sense. What you're saying is, it would be a very time-consuming process to take companies that normally manufacture cars and to get them to properly manufacture a product like a ventilator, which is made to save people's lives, but because they just don't know things that they just haven't gone through yet, even if they do put these products out, there's a really high likelihood they'll come defective, or they won't work correctly, or they won't save lives. And then the companies might get some backlash and some lawsuits for trying to do a good deed. Not even trying to capitalize. I don't even think, like, if Tesla's trying to do this...
They don't want to do this. They don't want to do this. Their opportunity cost is too high. None of their machines are built to make ventilators.
Tesla,
they don't have
or in general?
any of them. In general, none of their machines. The only thing that's built to make ventilators are companies that built ventilators. It's a level 3 medical device. But even let's go back. Let's just talk about masks.
Sure.
We can't even do that because we can't, like, you see how hard it is to turn one type of manufacturing into another type of manufacturing? It's even harder to turn someone that's not in manufacturing into manufacturing. It's the same thing as people saying, oh, all these coal miners, they need to learn how to code. So just transforming one thing into another thing is extremely difficult. And I think by the time we figure it out, and let's say we bring some manufacturing back, we're going to forget all about this thing, and we're going to be like, it's just easier to get it done in China. So I don't think it's going to happen. Because we're not good at, it's too big. Like, we're a Titanic. Even though the iceberg is right in front of you, you're not going to turn. And if you happen to miss it, you're not going to turn for the next one. It's a little cynical.
No, you know what, though? It definitely makes a lot of sense. Like, I guess I was coming at it with a bit, I don't want to call it ignorant optimism, but more like uneducated optimism. Like, oh, this could be a really good opportunity for us to get into manufacturing. But then, to your point of, like, we don't know, and the amount of time that it's going to take for manufacturers to figure out what they don't know might cost lives. It probably will.
No, we're already too late. We're not going to get any of these things done. All these companies are behind. The only ones that are bringing anything are just buying it from China. Those 10,000 units that Tesla got, they didn't make them. They bought them. Right. So, I think what's going to happen in reality, they will want to wean off of dependence on China and fix their supply chain a little bit, but I think it's going to be more in South America. I would say Europe and possibly Germany is the best, by the way, at building ventilators, for example. So I think it's not going to be like, hey,
I didn't know that. It's interesting.
Yeah, Germans are very good at precision.
Mercedes-Benz is a hell of a car. Volkswagen is a pretty good car.
Yeah, BMW. The whole nine. But long story short is, I think we will move off of China. But I don't think it's going to be in the States. I think it's going to be, we're going to go to other countries that have the know-how and just help them scale it out a little bit more and pay extra for it, which is fine as long as you get it.
Well, so tell me this. Why do you think that we will at least try to move off of dealing with so much with China?
I think that's been the goal, right? But it just there hasn't been a fire enough for us to do it, because at the end of the day, it's economics. But what happens is people don't account for black swan events, and this black swan events is teaching everyone a lesson that, okay, fine, you saved money over the past 10 years by manufacturing in China, but now, you're going to end up paying this money anyway. So now the bill is due because we don't have enough of these ventilators, and the bill is going to be paid in economics, because the more people that die, the more stock market crashes, right? Like, just forget about the morality of it, and be in lives. So people haven't been putting that money aside economically with our dependence on China. So now what's going to happen is, instead of having zero stockpile or 10% efficiency for medical devices, I think it's going to bump it up to 15, 20%. And instead of having 98% manufacturing coming out of China for, by the way, drugs also and everything, we're going to say, okay, you know what, we need to kind of diversify. And if the dough is going to cost us a little bit more, we've got to diversify. And the next time something like this happens, it's going to be less of a hit on the economy because we were diversified. We kind of prepaid the costs of this happening again, I would say.
So before you mentioned the stock market, so I don't know how much of a portfolio, if any, you have. There are plenty of entrepreneurs who don't believe in it at all. Are you invested in the stock market?
I used to be. I invested a lot, and then I got out in 2008.
Did you happen to make a profit before you got out?
Yeah, no. It's been up this entire time. The reason I got out is because it takes time to kind of pay attention. It's not. Some people do it Saturday, right? And that's kind of when things really took off at Swag Up, and I couldn't like devote my time. So I moved my money out of the stock market into real estate, which is a little bit less day-to-day time-consuming in terms of managing the investment. I'm looking to enter a little bit right now because just for the long-term holds, this is a good buy. But I still think that overall it's going to go down more.
That's what I was just. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm not like heavily invested. I got a few grand in the stock market right now. I got a few grand in crypto, right? Some people might call that a lot. Some people might call that a little. Whatever the case may be, it's all really relative. So, in trying to figure out the best places to allocate or reallocate my funds in the market, I took a look at the Dow Jones Industrial. Sorry, tongue twister actually, a little bit of one. And I was just curious. So I looked all the way back to the Great Depression, 1930s-ish, and I wanted to get an idea of what the charts and how it looked like when there was that great sell-off. And the charts then do have some reminiscence to the way it looks right now. Now, I understand that those are very different events, but I don't know how different they are. So I know back then it may have been another pandemic-like situation, the Spanish flu or something like that. Maybe
that was that. Yeah, 1918. That's what it was.
So it was a little bit after that than the stock market crashed. So that was probably
right. Completely different economies, completely different markets.
Right. The charts happen to look similar, and if you looked as to how long it took about 20 years for us to get really bullish again.
Mm-hmm.
But so to me, it's been like, I have this theory, right? And the theory is like, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. Now,
yes,
the president and other people are saying, and they're being optimistic, and I appreciate that. Listen, the leader of the free world really should never get on public TV and be like, we're fucking doomed. He should never do that, right? And he hasn't been. He's been keeping it optimistic, saying we're gonna bounce back. But that's telling me that 50 to 60% of Americans, whoever would invest in the stock market, I don't know if the number is that high in percentages, but you get my drift. That tells me that if they buy now and it goes up, everybody becomes wealthy. I just don't see the universe working like that. Like, it's just not a thing. So to me, it's like, it's never gonna work the way everybody thinks that it will. I learned that with Bitcoin, right? When everybody thought it was going to go from like 19 to like 100,000, and every day I get alerts saying Bitcoin halving is coming, which it is, and it's gonna reach 100K. I'm not gonna hold my breath, right? But so to me, I'm just like, I'm curious to get everybody's opinions, because some people are a little more educated on the finances and like the intricacies of the stock market than others. So your opinion is you're like looking for long term. Like, do you think it bounces back a little bit, or you think we're going down? Like until?
I think we're gonna keep going down, but I mean it doesn't really matter, right? Because what I think the fundamental thing what people need to understand is that there's gonna be a shift. There's gonna be a shift in the way the economy works. You're gonna have a couple of industries that are gonna get destroyed, and you're gonna have a couple of companies that are gonna be destroyed. Mostly companies that are not positioned well to be in this new age economy. And we don't know how long the virus is going to last, right? So my estimates is that we're not going to be in the clear until we get the vaccine and until it's distributed, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Which is 24 months. And then my question is, it's not about is this company good or bad, but is this company positioned to weather 24 months, right? So someone like Uber, for example, people say, oh, they have $11 billion in cash, which positions them well. But in reality, they don't, because they just made an acquisition in January for $3 billion. So now they're down, right? They're down to 8, and then their cash bleed is $4.5 billion a year, which that's when they're fully operational.
Yeah.
And then the other bet is, how's the stimulus package going to work out? What is the government going to do? So I would tell people this: do not try to time the market. You will not do it. I'm not able to do it.
You will never succeed.
So if you have long conviction about a company that you think is going to be around in 10 years, then yeah, grab that company if you strongly believe it. But in reality, you don't know shit, and the experts don't know shit.
No.
You could have a monkey throwing darts, and it will make better picks than 99% of the people out there. So if you can't, don't go in because you think it's gonna go up, right? Don't short because you think it's gonna go down. If you have money, right? Yeah, you could invest in the S&P 500 index fund and wait 10 years, and in 10 years, I'm sure it will be recovered, right? It's gonna go higher overall, just because that's how the market works. But don't try to. You're not smarter than the market. You're not smarter than the people that really know what they're doing, or it's out of your control. There's so many factors right now that are out of your control that you just don't have the know-how. It's like you're not gonna go to the hospital and perform brain surgery right now.
And that's exactly what it's like when it comes to the market. I think what's interesting is I think that applications like Robinhood, who gave it like the public. I use Robinhood, so I like whatever. I also have an Ameritrade account because there's also a number of stocks that you can't get on Robinhood. But I think that because of the simplicity of the interface and gambling culture is like just really like.
That's been hilarious. You have Barstool right now. What's Dave Portnoy going on like doing day trading, and his videos are just they're awesome. When you're combining that, it's fucking awesome. It's hilarious.
Someone just sent me a video of what's his face doing an unboxing. He was, and my friend was like, "Bro, this is the most hilarious unboxing I've ever seen." And it was the guy from Barstool taking knives and just like unboxing ridiculous things. I was like, "Wow, that's fantastic."
Yeah, I mean, it's gambling. It's in reality gambling. The same way you do sports gambling. Unless this is your profession and you really know what you're doing and you know how to. In reality, it's not am I getting this right or am I getting this wrong? It's how do I hedge my bets that I don't lose over X amount. And that's why they're called hedge funds. Because they hedge the funding. It's not about them how much are they gonna make. It's how do they prevent the losses and how do they lose less than other people in reality, or when they do make, how do they just beat out other people by preventing their losses. So I would say that a lot of times people, it's not about their bets are wrong, is that they're just not capitalized correctly, and they'll over leverage themselves and they'll have a margin call, and that's it. They lose everything because they're forced to sell at the wrong time.
Right.
So.
Lately I've actually been looking at a lot more things in a betting way because I have to do some at my day job. I'm a business analyst, right? And so that's part of what I do is to analyze business and manage some projects in the software development world. And so I've realized that literally everything in the business world is kind of gambling in different ways, and here's why. So when you have to purchase a new software, a new platform for your company to solve a problem, that's gambling. You're gambling with your money because you don't know what problems will come with that software. You have no idea if your employees are actually going to be able to acclimate to it and what challenges that will bring you. It's the same thing when it comes to hiring. Somebody could be great on paper, a great interviewer, a terrible employee, vice versa. It's all really a gamble, and I think that as we talk about it more openly and freely, people will begin to realize that.
Yeah, I think it's just establishing the odds. Why does Vegas win? Because they're so good at establishing the odds.
Really good.
So no matter, right? So it's not about did I win or did I lose. It's what's the process? How am I able to collect the data to establish the odds? And is the return worth it? So if you have a 10% chance of winning, then you need to have a 15% I'm sorry. If you have a 10% chance of winning, you have to have a greater than 10x return on that bet, right? So if you're gonna get a 20x return, then you can make 10 of these bets, right? And just one of them has to hit for you to double the money, right? So establishing the odds is really what makes you good at business decisions or stock decisions or everything like that. So what are the chances that I'm going to be right, and is the return worth it? Because you could be right 100%, and if the return is 0, then it doesn't make a difference. Or you could be right 95%, but the return is only 1%. So that's also not worth it. So it's risk reward balancing that out.
So I'm very curious about something. I don't know how much you're into politics. I know it's probably not your world, but I don't want to be presumptuous. I'm sure you're gonna.
I'm not. Yeah. I don't want to get involved into politics because it's just not a good topic. I think I try to avoid these conversations. So.
I respect that. I respect that. I'm not going to push it too much. I will say that I really appreciate how honest Governor Cuomo has been. Everybody is completely entitled to their opinion on that. Um, I'm not going to proclaim to be a Democrat or Republican. I probably lean more towards Republican because I'm a capitalist, but that's kind of besides the point. I think honestly, right now we need to throw political stuff out the window and just be humans and do the right thing.
So I would say that there's been a lot more bipartisanship when looking at this thing than before, and that's a positive thing.
Of course, yeah.
That's been good, and I just don't think anyone's really equipped to solve this problem. We're not a country we have too much red tape and too much bureaucracy to act efficiently when facing problems like this, and there's just too many variables versus 2008 where the variable was just economic, right? For something here you have economic variable, short-term economy, long-term economy, you have humanitarian crisis, and we're just not equipped and as a society to deal with it. So you won't know if somebody's doing a good job or a bad job because you don't have anything to compare it to.
That's
right?
Very true.
So
I'm gonna
it's hard to tell.
I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then I'm gonna let you go because I'm not sure how much time you actually have. We've been doing this for a little while now. If you had to make a very, very educated bet, and if you don't want to answer the question, you could just tell me I'd rather not. But if you had to make a very educated bet, if we were either A, going to hit a serious depression for a few years, going into a mild recession, or we'll just sort of acclimate to our environments and kind of bounce back, what would you hedge your bet towards? What would you lean towards more? There's three options. Tough, huh?
I mean, I would bet on a depression, and then I'll be very happy to lose that bet. So
I think everybody would agree with you right now.
So I would plan and bet, and it's a hedge, right? So I would plan for a depression, and even if that costs you extra money or whatever it is, you're fine, because if you're wrong, then you could always make that money back. But if you're right, you're better off betting that money because once again, it's very hard to tell. But I think we're gonna have it has to be. How can it not be, right? We have it's gonna be such a high unemployment level. You would have to trust the government to be smart enough to handle this properly.
Sorry, that was really funny.
Right. But like I said, it's not even their fault to some extent, because I don't think anybody is able to handle it properly. And then you have to trust them to be efficient and technologically savvy, which we already know that they're not, just based on how they've been handling tech firms. So yeah, I don't, unless there's going to be a deus machina saving us somehow with I don't know, a miracle vaccine that they'll pull out, in a week.
It's not going to happen in a weekend. A lot of people don't want to hear that. Just so everybody who watches this knows, I didn't laugh so much at the fact that you mentioned government, because it's the government. They can't do shit correctly. That's not why I laughed. I actually just laughed at Artem's face as he was saying, because it was really funny. Because you said it with like this sense of like nervousness, yet like it's kind of the truth. So what can you do type situation.
Yeah.
I would agree with you on a lot of that. Now, when you say you would hedge your bet, just to be as clear as possible, are you talking like general, like, just preparing for depression, however that might look to anybody listening, or are you more specifically talking about putting your money, like investment-wise, into real estate or the stock market or something like that?
I don't even know if the stock market if real estate or the stock market are gonna save you. You could invest in.
It's about to go down a lot.
Right. So I don't know that. I would say, instead of jumping on, hey, I can make the stock market bounces back, I'm going to make an extra 30% on my whatever, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 in savings I have. I would say keep it in cash, keep it as dry powder, and then if you miss out on making this money and the market goes back up, fine, right? You missed out on, right? Yeah, you missed out on making $30,000, but the reverse is that the market keeps going down. And then now, instead of $50,000 in savings, you have $10,000 or $20,000. Or, if you're working for somebody right now and you have a job, be really fucking appreciative that you're still able to work. Be the best fucking employee that you can be. make sure that you're helping out the company and you're trying to
Right.
grow the company. Like if you were thinking it's like, fuck this company, you're not gonna find a job. You know what I mean? If you have tenants right now, as a landlord, if you have tenants right now, somebody's willing to pay you 70, 80, whatever, 50% of the rent, be really fucking appreciative that they're doing that, because they might just go fuck you and not pay you, and then by the time you evict them, it's gonna be 12 months down the line, and you might not even find anyone to take the place. So just have a sense of understanding and awareness.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. What do you know as far as assistance for small businesses right now? I know there's a $10,000 forgivable loan. I feel like that's going to do nothing for a lot of businesses. The same way the $1,200 stimulus check is probably going to do nothing for a lot of people. What do you have any more information on that?
So yeah, I have a lot of information on that. We could get into it a little bit. So that's probably what you wanted to talk to me about. So there is the economic injury disaster loan, or better known as EIDL, and that is from the SBA directly. It's not through a bank. You have to go to the SBA, SBA.gov. Okay. There is a $10,000 advance that's supposed to hit your account in 3 days. I have yet to see anybody's account get hit in 3 days with that advance. Yeah, advance. So they don't know what they're going to give you as a loan, but they'll give you $10,000 just to start, and then they'll figure out later, right? It's supposed to be an emergency just to hold you over to help you pay whatever the fuck. So there's that. I suggest applying for it. It's literally a 5-minute application. They're like, do you want money? Yes, no. Did you ever kill anybody? No. What's your bank account? Yeah. But like I'm saying, they're not really, I haven't seen anybody disperse that. So that's number one, but that's the easiest one. I suggest everyone applies for that one. There's another one which has New York City covering 40% of your payroll.
Oh, wow. I think I've seen that.
Yeah, but that's only for 2 months. If you're under 4 employees, I believe.
Okay.
So that one is, I think if you go to Pursuit, like pursuing someone, pursuit.com, you're able to apply there, or you're able to apply nyc.gov. There's another one which is if you've lost 25% of your revenue in the last 2 months, which is hard to tell because it hasn't been 2 months yet. Like I'm struggling with that one myself because I can't demonstrate it because it's been half of March and a little bit of April, so I can't really demonstrate 25% loss.
Right.
It just hasn't been enough time. But that's another one that New York City, I haven't seen anyone get that money yet either. The New York so far has just been like a survey monkey. If you're interested in money, and we'll get back to you when that one goes live. And then there's the PPP, which is the most important one, which is the payroll protection program, which gives you 2.5 times your average monthly salary for 2019, excluding if you're paying anybody 1099, excluding if you're paying any corporations. So that's literally on your W-2 employees, and it caps at 100K annual per employee. So that one right there is the biggest one. That's the one everybody's going after. I believe that's the $350 billion. That one's a mess. That one's a complete mess. It's being done through banks, and different banks have different requirements and different systems. And this program did, I believe, $30 billion in distributions last year as something else, that entire program. And now they're asking for it to do $350 billion in the span of a month. It's not happening. I know Citibank is not accepting anything right now. I know Wells Fargo shut down. They opened for 3 days and shut down. Silicon Valley Bank is now live. TD is live. M&T is live. But once again, Bank of America was live. They closed it down. A lot of these banks are favoring existing clients with existing credit accounts. So you have so some of them, a credit card is okay, but others you have to have a loan from the bank already. And the reason they're doing that is because they want you to get the money so that you're more viable as a business and you don't default on their loans. And that program it should be the most amount of money you're able to get as a small business, and it's a forgivable loan, so it's a grant. But from what I've seen, nobody, I know one person that's been able to get it, and that's like a friend of a friend, and that was SunWest Bank, which is a small Midwest bank, and I'm guessing just they're not getting a lot of action for this program, so that's why they were able to issue it. But I think it's going to be like the ventilators, it's not going to be enough, and it's going to be too late by the time it actually hits people's accounts.
So let me ask you, with regard to small businesses getting money, right? Do you have any idea how long they would have had to have been in business, or like anything specific like that?
You could, if you started the business in 2020, you should be able to be eligible for it. You just have to show your payroll from, January 1st to whatever it was, March 15th, and then they'll see what your payroll is. But I'm guessing if you're just starting out, your payroll is going to be non-existent, and
Right.
owners don't count. So if that's a different app that you get to file as either a 1099 or self-employed, and that's another thing. But yeah, there's no such. But honestly, there's no guidance. They kind of vaguely threw everything out there, and they're like, "Here, banks, figure it out." And the banks are like, "Well, hold up a second. We need to do compliance to make sure that we don't get stuck holding these loans because they want to sell them to the Fed." These banks, they don't want to hold the loans. They do not. These are terrible, terrible loans. So they want to sell them as soon as possible.
Terrible?
Okay, would you give $20 to a person that doesn't have the money? Like,
So you're basically
imagine
people with bad credit, essentially.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're junk loans. They're junk loans. And then the person that's saying, "I'm going to give you back the money," give this person $20, I'll give you back the money. They're super disorganized. They don't know what's going on, and then at any minute they can say, "Oh, actually, you're not eligible. I'm not going to give you back that money," right? So there's no point. And then now they also have to invest into operations to give out $20 to 200,000 people, right? Which they don't have, right? And then it's not good. The finder's fee for it, it's not enough. They're giving $10 billion for $350 billion, so they're paying banks $10 billion to give out $350 billion. But all it takes is, yeah, go ahead.
So I definitely want to let you finish that thought. I'll ask my question after.
Yeah, so they're paying like the float cost or whatever, the operational cost of $10 billion for $350 billion, but
Okay.
it's not enough. The risk on those loans is going to be high if they're not compliant, and the compliance documents are very vague. It's an 800-page congressional bill, right? That's super vague. That those things usually take months and months and months and months for all the legal to get ironed out and for precedents to be set, and none of that is happening. So
I always wonder after being in the tech world and in the production world for almost a decade now. I've worked for financial companies before. I've worked for Prudential before. I know what it's like to deal with their compliance department and all the fine print and this and that. I always wonder, is there a simpler way? Is there a way that you can condense that fine print into like English that's a lot easier and faster for people to process as human beings?
the government needs to do it, and the government is not super tech savvy, as you know. Government agencies are just not there, and a lot of it is because of compliance and security and everything like that. So even if you look right now, when it comes to like medical, right, the FDA has waived its requirements for HIPAA. I don't know if the FDA, sorry, not FDA, but anyways, HIPAA requirements have been waived so doctors could FaceTime you, right? You weren't able to do that before. So it's the same thing with the government. The SBA has a system that allows you to upload the document. That system crashed. Healthcare.gov, how did that work out? That system crashed, right? So just the government is just shitty at tech, and that's what you get when you have a bunch of people in power that are over 70 years old. There's
It's not the worst way of describing it at all.
If you saw Facebook's hearings and Google hearings, they were asking how Facebook makes money and how do you send an email through WhatsApp. So yeah, there are better ways. Technology is available. The government just is not positioned to use it, just like America is not positioned to use manufacturing, right? So a duck is going to be a duck. You can't make it into a chicken. Okay, it's not.
I get what you're saying. So, tell me this. I would love to circulate this specific information all over the internet. I saw a meme that kind of drove me crazy that said something to the extent of, we can print out $1 trillion a day to inject back into the economy to try to fix this mess, but we can't provide free health care.
We can.
Huh?
We can't provide free healthcare. We could do both. It's just we're not good at it. You know what I mean? It's once again it's the lack of technology and efficiency.
So what do you think? What do you? I was gonna say, what's the other side to that story as far as you see it? But it's really just we just have to get better at the way we flow our money around, is what you're saying.
We need to get it's not just money. We need to put people in control that understand how the modern world works and how technology works, and the difference between how Facebook operates and how Google operates, and what's the difference between AWS and Azure. Like, we just don't have we have a government that's disconnected from the people and disconnected from modern technology. So everything that is being put on the table as like these big dream things, it can happen. There's a way that you can look at GoFundMe. Fucking GoFundMe distributes money like this, no problem.
Very quickly.
Right? Look at Clearbank, Square Capital, right? Look at these payroll companies, even ADP, which is a fucking dinosaur. They're able to pay out millions of people like clockwork, no issues, right? So even shitty tech is better than what our government has. So yeah, I think that the first step is putting people in charge that understand technology and really taking advantage of that, and then we could fix everything else, from healthcare to economics to policies, to literally everything.
To our fucking voting system. I'm just going to make one comment about our voting system, and I think I tell it to everybody I speak to. And please tell me if you think this is an absurd way of looking at it. I don't even think we really should have the right to vote, most of us, because I don't think most of us are equipped to vote. It's like putting me, you, and 20 other business people or like, anybody that knows business or entertainment or whatever in a room, and looking over doctors' resumes and saying, all right, no, I think that based on that doctor's resume, they're a great fit to run a hospital. Not knowing what challenges, how they work in real life. All you're looking at is a resume and what they tell you, not what actions they've actually taken. And that's why voting drives me crazy. Because most voters, it's not even that they're not educated. That's a cop-out, I think. I think it's more so that most people running for office, it's between them not putting out information in its entirety. It's between them not even really knowing all the challenges they're going to face in office, and people not asking the right questions.
So, I mean, that goes back to technology. That goes back to technology and data. And we're going to have data split into two very, very, very important channels. There's going to be data privacy, which is the first channel, which everybody talks about. And then the second channel is data validation. And as soon as we're able to solve both of these, data privacy and data validation, everything else solves itself, right?
Yeah, you're right about that.
So if you can't, intelligence shouldn't be a factor in voting, because honestly, intelligence is subjective, right?
Very true. You're right about that.
So I could have a higher IQ than somebody, but that person could be more intelligent than I am in certain aspects, right? So in reality, I think that we have a democracy it's the worst system except for every other system, right? The same thing as capitalism is the worst system except for every other system, right? So you're never going to solve it perfectly, but once again, I think that technology and injecting modern processes into our government and streamlining things, you're going to find a lot of money. You're going to find a lot of money. You're going to find a lot more time. Look what happened. But at the same time, you can't put monkeys in charge of building a building, which is what happened like in Ohio. They fucking grabbed a random app developer to build out the fucking app for the primaries, and the shit fucking crashed. And they're like, oh, I told you technology is bad. We should have kept using the paper. No, fuckers. No. You don't know who you're hiring. You don't know who you're hiring. You don't know which app developer you're taking. So obviously it's not going to work because you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right?
When I heard that story, I was like, they didn't do any usability testing. They didn't do any user testing. They did nothing that is really required to make a basic app run. It probably wasn't even that complicated. It's just that they built it probably without user experience whatsoever.
I mean, and without scaling and without a QA and without anything. Because the person in charge is not a technical person.
They weren't educated in that way.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to fix. It starts from the top. We need to put people that understand how the modern economy in America operates. You know,
Right.
the same way, like you can't put a fucking tech company CEO in a country that doesn't have technology in there, right? Because they wouldn't know how to, operate a country with agrarian society. Like they don't know anything about farming. Same thing. You can't. But here we have a country that's very heavy on tech, and people that don't understand technology at all and are scared of it, in charge.
Right.
So.
Well, Artem, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk. Damn, I really had one more thing in mind, but oh well, what can you do? Artem, hopefully we'll do this again next time sometime soon.
Yep.
I know you're a busy guy, so it's hard to catch you, but thanks so much for coming on. Any businesses, any plugs that you want to reference right now, any way people can get in touch with you, anything, services you might be able to help them with, put it out there, man.
I mean, I don't really like to plug anything in. If people are struggling right now and they're scared, they don't understand what's going on, or they just they have a business or they're working somewhere, listen, you can reach out to me on Twitter, Artem_Mashkov, or on Facebook, it's Artem Mashkov, or on Instagram, it's Artem Mashkov, or LinkedIn, it's Artem Mashkov. Pretty consistent. Reach out. Listen, I don't know. I'm not telling you I'll be able to help everybody.
Right.
But I'm in the middle of this shit, and I'm working with all these different banks with the loan programs, and I know how unemployment is working right now. I know how the city lending is working, so I'm pretty knowledgeable in that stuff. And just overall, I mean, if you need help and you're confused and you just need someone to talk to, I'm here. I think it's a good time to be human, and I think it's very important right now to help people out.